Thank you. I want to now jump into Europe. Europe and what's taking place here. As you know, well, I'm sure there is more than 2,000 French troops in Zakarpattia region and many other flags and other colors. And here, as someone who is absolutely not an expert in any of this, I want to ask you a question from a regular citizen. I have two scenarios in my head. If they pull it off, how they want to pull it off. And I want to hear your expertise on this. So let's say more and more of those troops, which you know, they are already there on Ukrainian side, sneaking there, will be there. One more warning from Russia, another warning from Russia, verbal warning. Comes to the point when they come too close, and then I don't know the levels of intensity of those missiles, but one of those is sent as a signal enough, talking from Russia's side. And let's say they back off. Or they use it and say, you know, this was Russia attacking us. Seriously, look at this. We have to go in. Second scenario, I give a credit to one of my viewers who put this in my comment section. I have the best audience ever, I have to tell you. And he said, no, 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 it will be like this. NATO will bomb or explode their own troops and then blame it on Russia, and the whole, excuse my language, shit show will start. So I want to ask your opinion, because at this point, a lot of Polish citizens, they don't have to like Putin, they don't have to like Russia. That's not the point. The point is they see no reason to sacrifice themselves for the politicians, for their plans, and for their business. So please tell me if I'm even a bit close to what they might pull off.
I think we have to differentiate between politically oriented people and militarily oriented people. Right now, we have a whole bunch of people who are close to people like Macron, Biden, Schultz, Maloney, Sunak, who call themselves Russian experts, and they're advising these people on Russia, but they're an expert of nothing. These are people who, cut their teeth, so to speak, on the Russia of the 90s, when the goal wasn't to know about Russia, but to dominate Russia. And they are deeply resentful of Vladimir Putin's ongoing efforts to restore Russia to a place of dignity and self-sufficiency. And so these people have an unrealistic appraisal of Russia and its capabilities. And from that, they have over-optimistic appraisal of the West's ability to shape events inside Russia. So we see, for instance, people thinking that sanctions would have succeeded in strangling the Russian economy. The proof of how wrong they were is the fact that their own economies are being strangled today because of the sanctions. People who believe that the war in Ukraine would have been unaffordable by Russia, that Russia couldn't sustain this conflict, and that as a result, combined with the economic disaster brought on by sanctions, you'd get political unrest and you'd get a Maidan moment in Moscow where Vladimir Putin would be overthrown by the Russian people. This is the advice that's being given to these leaders, and they believe this. They believe this advice. And so this is where you can get an Emmanuel Macron that says, I want to dispatch French troops to Ukraine. And we get a number of 2,000 because that's pretty much the limit of what Macron could dispatch in short order. He could probably get it up to 12,000 if you want to wait 6 months, maybe more if you want to wait longer. But to get troops there soon, 2,000 is about the maximum, because Ukraine was preparing to expand its current 700-strong force, a reinforced battalion in Romania, to 2,000 by next year. Right now the plans are, if they go through with this, to get them up to 2,000. Let's just put this in perspective. Ukrainian troops are dying on the front line today at a rate of over 1,000 a day. 2,000 French troops buys Ukraine 2 days. That's it. That's it. But the question isn't just about putting men there. How do you sustain it? Amateurs talk tactics, operations. Professionals talk logistics. The military people around Macron, who have nothing to do with politics, their job is just purely military. They're telling them that, look, it would take us 2 years to get the logistics support framework in place to expand the battalion from 700 to 2,000. That's what they were telling them back in 2023. Now, that meant they were ready by 2025. Now they're saying, if you want to accelerate this, we might be able to pull it off, but it means that we're not going to be able to do some of the preparatory work, like pre-position ammunition, pre-position fuel, etc. That, we're going to put a lot of troops forward with insufficient logistical sustainability that we're going to have to be playing catch up on. But that just gets them to Romania. Now, how do you get them across the border into Ukraine? That's projection of power, which requires an expeditionary capability that the French are lacking in. So the moment they cross the border, they start defeating themselves, meaning that for every gallon of gas that's consumed, if they don't replace it with a gallon, they're going to run out of fuel halfway to Odessa, and sort of the war's over at that point in time. So they need to get the fuel, but those fuel, that requires trucks. Did France prepare enough trucks? Is France ready to do expeditionary warfare on this scale? And the answer is no. So they have to lease the trucks. And so now they have to lease the trucks. And each one of those trucks uses fuel too. When you plan a military exercise, a big exercise in advance, you budget in your fuel expenditures. You pre-purchase the fuel and it's positioned in depots. But now you're bringing in thousands of troops and hundreds of vehicles that nobody planned for. Where's the fuel coming from? Where's it going to be stored? How's it going to get there? That's just the fuel. How do you feed these guys? Where's the food coming from? How do you maintain these vehicles as they move forward? Do you have mobile maintenance capabilities that flow forward with them? Or as a vehicle breaks, does it have to be pulled out and taken back to a rear area support that doesn't exist yet because it hasn't been built because you weren't planning on putting 2,000 troops there until next year? It starts to fall apart. And then, God forbid, they ever get into contact with the enemy. Are they carrying a full combat load? That'll take them through 1 day of fighting. Now, they burn that up. Did they bring all the trucks with all the other ammunition that has to come in to resupply them? And remember, that's a convoy of trucks a day if they're going to be in sustained combat. Artillery ammunition. The French don't have enough to fight for more than 3 days. They run out of ammunition at that point in time. My point is, logistically, the French can't sustain this. And so it will never happen. That's the fact. And if it does happen, that means the French want to commit suicide, because that's what the end result will be. And Russia will kill them there. Russia's not going to attack Romania. Russia's not going to attack Poland. They're going to attack the French in Ukraine, where every Frenchman will die.
But this is not just about French. This is about other, as you always say, Chihuahua countries, plus Poland,
right,
to participate in this.
But what can
and then maybe, but maybe, sorry, Scott, maybe, again, so sorry, maybe this is not about this. This is not about those logistics. Maybe this is about creating this mess. As Polish Prime Minister said, Donald Tusk, /old, as I always say it, he said the next 6 months will be decisive. So when we calculate the next 6 months, we come to the September this year, which is less than 2 months before the US presidential election, which is perfect timing. Perfect timing before the presidential election. So this chaos, this mess is going on because ultimately, like you say, they have no chance. Doesn't matter if it's a coalition of this or that.
Right, but the Baltic states, what power are they going to project? I mean, I if I'm a Rottweiler who's spent my whole life eating, wild pigs, and a Chihuahua comes up nipping at my legs, do I really care? The Baltic states have nothing. They bring nothing. They can do nothing. They can make noise, but they have no military power. At best, they'd be able to put a reinforced company in with the French. So now the French have 2,250 troops. That just means that they get to live a few hours more on the third day of a war. But that's it. Poland can't project any power right now. None, zero, zip. They've got nothing. They know it. Their generals know it. They had no survivability. Look what the Russians just did. They sent a signal to Poland. They bombed an airfield where Poland has been working overtime together with other NATO members to prepare it to receive F-16s. They put in place the maintenance hangars. They got There's a railroad that goes from Poland to there. They've been offloading, putting it in hangars, building facilities to receive the F-16s. They put in place air defense, and the Russians came in over the course of the past 2 days. It's all dead, gone. There's nothing left. It was a signal to Poland. Remember, the Polish are screaming, "The missile's coming down our soil." No, it flew parallel to your soil because that's the best way to hit the target, and there's nothing the Poles can do about it. You can scramble the F-16s if you want. Come across the border, you will die because there's MiG-31s already in the air, locked onto you. And the second you cross into Ukrainian airspace, you will be shot out of the sky. That's the reality. But the other thing that's happening is the Russians are starting to hit the strategic energy infrastructure, because next to this airfield is a giant underground gas storage facility, part of a major energy hub where they receive the gas from Poland, put it underground, and then distribute it over Ukraine. That was hit. And the Russians are going to start hitting all of the gas distribution. And the Ukrainian economy is going to shut down. And it is shutting down. So what do the Poles want? What can they do? And I'm just here to tell you, I don't mean to be too disrespectful of the Poles, but they can do nothing because they have nothing. Oh, yes, they make a lot of noise about building the army of the future, but that army ain't been built yet. And I'll remind the Poles this, that the one thing that would have enabled them to have enough courage to send troops to support the French is if the United States had deployed additional troops to Poland as the Poles requested. But America said no, because America's not playing that game. America has troops in there sufficient to be a tripwire force if Russia wanted to move into Poland, which Russia doesn't want to do. But what America is not going to do is backfill Poland with American troops so that Poland then can release troops to go on some sort of grand adventure in Ukraine. We're not going to facilitate that. So the Poles are left with nothing. And again, it comes down to logistics. The Poles have no ability to sustain any meaningful sized combat force logistically in Ukraine. But I'll just bring up the other thing. The moment those troops cross into Ukraine, they will be hit by Russian firepower like they've never been hit before. That's the signal that Russia sent the last couple of days, is there is no place safe, not even a place close to the Polish border that has previously not been attacked. No place is safe. That every place on Ukrainian soil will be hit if it contains French troops, Polish troops, F-16s. It doesn't matter. It's a new game, I just think that all these people that talk about, look, and I am concerned about France doing something stupid, because they may do it politically, but then they're going to pay a price, and then that could lead to escalation. But there's no way that NATO can project a meaningful force, militarily meaningful force, into Ukraine and survive more than a week. There's no way.
Thank you, Scott. I just want to tell you, which you maybe know, maybe you don't know, and I'm sorry, I don't know the name, how you say like the MiG planes?
Yeah.
The MiG. This kind of. I just want to tell you what Polish government is doing. Polish farmers are protesting on many main roads. Just a few days ago, they literally flew that type of plane over Polish farmers. Very, very low, and people freaked out because this is form of terrorism. Can I just say here? That's what it is. The government of the country doing this to its own citizens. Just want to say it because our videos many people watch, so now they know. And when they think that Polish people are all so cuckoo, like the Polish-speaking government, we are not, guys, okay? We are not. We have to put up with this, what they are planning. And my point here